Please take my brother. I'll go back alone." The girl said, starving. The barn boards creak like dying bones. Maggie's fingers dig into her brother's wrist as something shifts in the corner where the shadows pool too thick. James doesn't see it yet. He's only 8 and still believes in things like safety. "You smell that?" James whispers. Maggie smells it. "Rotten copper and something else. Something old that's been waiting. Stay behind me." Her voice cracks like dry wood. The darkness in the corner breathes. Not air, something deeper. James's small hand finds hers, and she can feel his pulse racing through his thin skin. 3 days since their last real meal. 5 since Mama stopped getting out of bed. 7 since Daddy disappeared into the bottle and never came back out. "Please." Maggie steps forward. The floorboard sags under her bare feet. "I know you're there." The shadow peels away from the wall like wet paint. It doesn't have a shape exactly, but it has hunger. That much is clear. James makes a sound like a trapped animal and tries to run, but Maggie holds him fast. "What do you want?" she asks. It doesn't speak with words. The answer comes as images pressed into her skull. Children's bones, empty dinner plates, parents who turn away when the choosing time comes. No. With tears from her throat, but her stomach clamps down on itself, and James's ribs show through his shirt like fence slats, and somewhere in town, Sheriff Cotton is probably already writing their names on his list. "Please take my brother," she says. And the words taste like ash. "I'll go back alone." James looks up at her with eyes like their mama's, blue and trusting and already too old. "Maggie, what are you doing?" The shadow moves closer. It smells like the space under their porch where things go to die. Like the bottom of the well where the water turned black. Like everything in this town that people pretend not to see. "I'm trying to save us," she whispers, but she knows that's a lie. She's trying to choose which one of them gets to stay hungry. Sheriff Cotton's boots crunch on the gravel outside their kitchen window. Maggie presses her face to the glass and watches him adjust his badge in the moonlight. His hand shakes. Even from here she can see it trembling. "Mama!" Maggie shakes her mother's shoulder. "Someone's coming." "I know." Mama's voice is flat as old water. I've been expecting him. The knock comes 3 times. Slow and heavy like nails in a coffin lid. "Evening, Martha." Cotton removes his hat when Mama opens the door. "Mind if I come in?" "Do I have a choice?" Cotton steps inside without waiting for an answer. His eyes find Maggie standing by the stairs, then dart to the ceiling where James sleeps. "Council met tonight. I know what the council decided." Mama's fingers clutch her housecoat closed. "Same thing they always decide when the harvest comes up short." "Martha, don't." Mama's voice cuts through the kitchen like a blade. "Don't you dare make this sound reasonable." Cotton sets a folded paper on their scarred table. Official letterhead from the town hall. "You got 48 hours to make arrangements." Arrangements for what? Maggie steps forward. Cotton looks at her like she's already gone. "Child, you best let the adults handle this." "Tell her." Mama's words come out like broken glass. "Tell my daughter what the good people of this town decided about her family." Cotton's jaw works, but no sound comes. The selection. Mama turns to Maggie with eyes like burned-out houses. "Every year when the crops fail, every year when the well runs dry, council picks a family, picks the poorest one, picks the one nobody will miss. What happens to them?" Maggie asks, but she already knows. The empty houses on Elm Street, the Hendricks boy who disappeared last fall, the way people cross themselves when they pass the old well. They feed the thing that keeps this town alive. Cotton's voice drops to a whisper. "Been doing it since my grandfather's time." "Since before that." James's footsteps creak overhead. He's probably getting a drink of water. Still innocent. Still safe in his dreams. 2 days, Cotton says, backing toward the door. "I'm sorry, Martha. I truly am." The door closes and Maggie understands. They're marked now. Written down in the town's ledger like cattle for slaughter. Grandmother's room smells like medicine and secrets. Maggie finds her propped against yellowed pillows, fingers tracing patterns on the quilt that used to be bright. "Granny, I need to ask you something about the well." Grandmother's voice rattles like dry leaves. "Figured you would eventually." Maggie sits on the bed's edge. The mattress sags under her weight. "How long has it been happening?" Since before your grandfather was born, since this town first dried up and people got desperate. Grandmother's eyes focus on something past the window. Used to be different families took turns, shared the burden. What changed? Money, power. Same thing that always changes. Grandmother coughs and blood specks her handkerchief. Rich folks figured out how to point the finger away from their own children. Maggie pulls the quilt higher around her grandmother's shoulders. Tell me about the names. What names? The ones carved in the wood by the well. I saw them yesterday. Grandmother's hand finds Maggie's wrist. Her grip is stronger than it should be. You went there? I had to see. Sarah Beth Morrison, 1953. Little Daniel Cruz, 1961. The Watkins twins in 78. Grandmother's voice drops to barely a whisper. Every name tells the same story. Poor family. Hungry children. Council vote. Where are their graves? No graves. That's the point. Grandmother's fingers dig deeper into Maggie's skin. Families get told their children ran away. Got taken by relatives in the city. Anything but the truth. What about the families who moved away? Never moved. Just disappeared after asking too many questions. Grandmother struggles to sit up higher. The Hendricks family last year found their car at the bottom of Miller's Pond. Whole family inside. They fought back? Tried to. Same as others before them. Grandmother pulls Maggie closer. Listen to me, child. This thing under the well, it doesn't just take children. It takes anyone who threatens the arrangement, so we're supposed to just accept it. I'm saying you need to be smarter than the ones who came before. Grandmother's voice grows urgent. The council thinks they control it, but they don't. That thing is older than this town. Hungrier than they understand. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe it's time someone fed it what it really wants. Grandmother's eyes glitter with something between madness and hope. Not children, Maggie. The ones who've been feeding it children. Cotton returns the next evening with 3 council members behind him. Mayor Briggs, Old Man Patterson, who owns half the farmland, Mrs. Clearwater from the bank. They fill the kitchen like a disease. Time's up, Martha. Cotton sets his hat on the table. Boy needs to come with us. No. Mama stands by the sink, dish towel clutched in her hands like a weapon. This isn't a request. Mayor Briggs steps forward. His suit costs more than their house. Council vote was unanimous. Where's my husband? Mama's voice shakes. Where's Robert? Sleeping it off in the jail. Cotton won't meet her eyes. Probably best he misses this part. Maggie watches from the stairs. James sits beside her, small fingers wrapped around the banister. He doesn't understand yet, but he knows something's wrong. You can't take him. Mama throws the dish towel down. He's 8 years old. That's the point. Mrs. Clearwater's voice is cold as January wind. The offering has to be innocent. Listen, Martha. Patterson's boots scrape against the linoleum. You give us the boy, we'll make sure you keep the house. Maybe find work for you at the diner. And if I don't, then you lose everything. Briggs pulls out an eviction notice. House, land, everything your family built. Mama sinks into a chair. Her shoulders shake, but no sound comes out, Mama. James whispers. Cotton looks up at them. His face is grey as old meat. Boy, come on down here. No. Maggie stands. You can't have him. Child, this isn't your decision. Patterson's voice carries the weight of generations. Whose decision is it? Maggie descends the stairs slowly. Yours? The council's? Or the thing you're all afraid of? Cotton's hand moves to his gun. Not to draw it, just to touch it for comfort. You don't understand what you're talking about. I understand you're scared. Maggie reaches the bottom step. I can see it in your eyes, Sheriff. You're not doing this because you want to. You're doing it because you're terrified of what happens if you don't. Smart girl. Mrs. Clearwater smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Too smart for her own good. The boy comes with us now. Briggs nods toward James. Or the whole family pays. Mama looks up with tears streaming down her face. Please, take me instead. Doesn't work that way. Cotton's voice breaks. Has to be a child. Has to be innocent. Those are the rules. Whose rules? Maggie asks, but she already knows. The thing under the well makes the rules. Always has. Maggie waits until the house goes quiet. Mama cries herself to sleep. James curls up in her bed, afraid to be alone. The council members drive away with their headlights cutting through the darkness like accusations. She slips out through the kitchen door. The well sits a quarter-mile past the edge of town, where the road turns to dirt and the streetlights give up trying. Her bare feet know the path even in the dark. The well is older than anything else around here. Stone and mortar crumbling like bad teeth. Someone built a wooden cover over it years ago, but the boards are rotted through now. She can see down into the black. "I know you're listening." Her voice echoes off the stone walls. The smell hits her first. Sweet rot and copper pennies. Then she sees them. Bones scattered around the well's base like discarded toys. Small bones, child-sized ribs and tiny skulls that gleam white in the moonlight. Fresh offerings, too. A teddy bear from last month. A school backpack still damp with morning dew. James's age. All of them James's age. Why children? She whispers. The answer comes not as words, but as images pressed into her skull. Children taste like hope, like futures unlived and dreams unbroken. Adults taste like disappointment and compromise, and all the small deaths that come with living too long. What do you really want? More images? The taste of power. The flavor of those who think they control death instead of serving it. The rich sweetness of corruption finally called to account. You're tired of them too. Understanding floods through her like cold water. The council. The mayor, all of them feeding you scraps while they feast. The presence around the well shifts. Something vast and patient and hungry for more than just children. Hungry for justice in its own twisted way. What if I brought you something better? The darkness wraps around her like a promise. Like a pact written in blood and sealed with desperation. What if I brought you the ones who've been choosing your meals? The well breathes. Deep and satisfied and eager, Maggie backs away slowly. Her legs shake, but her mind is crystal clear for the first time in days. She understands now. Courage isn't about being brave enough to sacrifice yourself. Sometimes courage means being smart enough to sacrifice the right people. The thing in the well follows her home through the shadows. Patient as death and twice as hungry, back in the barn where it started. Maggie holds James's hand as the shadow takes shape. Not the desperate girl from 3 days ago. Something harder now. Something that's learned the difference between sacrifice and strategy. "Please take my brother," she says again. But her voice doesn't crack this time. "I'll go back alone." The entity pauses. It tastes the lie in her words, the hidden purpose beneath her plea. James looks up at her with confusion. "Maggie, what's happening?" "Trust me." She squeezes his hand. "Just trust me." The barn door creaks open. Cotton enters first, followed by the council members. Their faces are grim masks in the dawn light filtering through broken boards. "Time to go, boy." Cotton's voice shakes like autumn leaves. "Wait." Maggie steps forward. "I need to tell you something. About the well. About what's really down there, child." "Enough." Mayor Briggs moves toward James. "This is hard enough without your theatrics." The shadow behind Maggie grows larger, darker. The council members freeze as the temperature drops 10 degrees. "It's hungry," Maggie continues. "But not for children. It's tired of children. Tired of innocents who don't understand what they're dying for." "What are you talking about?" Mrs. Clearwater backs toward the door. "It wants the ones who've been making the choices. The ones who've been pointing fingers at poor families while keeping their own children safe." Maggie's voice grows stronger. "It wants you." The entity fills the barn now. Ancient hunger given form and purpose. Cotton draws his gun, but his hand shakes so hard he can't aim. "You made a deal." Patterson's face goes white. "You made a deal with that thing. Same deal you've been making for 70 years. Except my offering is better." Maggie pulls James behind her. 4 council members. 1 sheriff. All of them fat with corruption and ripe for judgment. "This isn't how it works." Briggs stumbles backward. "We have an arrangement." "Your arrangement just expired." The entity speaks through Maggie now, her voice layered with something older than the town itself. "New management." Cotton tries to run, but the barn doors slam shut. The windows go black. The entity has been patient for decades, feeding on scraps, while the real feast stood just out of reach. "Please," Mrs. Clearwater whimpers. "We were just following tradition." "Whose tradition?" Maggie asks. The children you fed to it or the families you destroyed. The shadows move in from every corner. All debts coming due. The taste of power finally returning to those who understand its real price. James closes his eyes and holds tight to his sister's hand. The screaming stops just as the sun clears the horizon. Maggie opens the barn doors to find nothing but empty clothes and badges scattered across the hay-covered floor. The entity is gone, sated, silent. Is it over? James whispers. For now. Maggie picks up Cotton's sheriff badge. The metal is cold and heavy in her palm. Come on, we need to go to town. They walk the dirt road as smoke begins to rise from the direction of Main Street. Other families emerge from their houses. The Hendricks place, supposedly abandoned, opens its front door. Maria Hendricks steps onto the porch with her 3 children behind her. Alive, hidden, waiting. The bank's burning. James points to the black smoke billowing above the tree line. Good. Maggie doesn't slow her pace. More families appear. The Morrison clan. All Daniel Cruz's relatives, all the families that supposedly moved away or disappeared, all the ones who've been hiding in basements and attics and abandoned houses, waiting for someone to break the cycle. How long were you planning this? James asks. Since last night. Since I understood what the town really was. Maggie stops at the edge of Main Street. Half the buildings are on fire. The bank, the town hall, Mayor Briggs's house. A feeding ground. A place where rich people point at poor people and call it tradition. Mrs. Patterson runs past them, her hair wild and her dress torn. The thing from the well, it's in town. It's taking everyone who voted. Not everyone. Maggie watches the flames consume the places where power lived and thrived. Just the ones who earned it. More council members' houses catch fire. Not from the entity, from the families who've been hiding. From the parents whose children were stolen, from everyone who's been too afraid to fight back until now. What happens next? James asks. We rebuild. Maggie drops the sheriff's badge in the dirt and steps on it. Without them. Without their rules. Without their hunger. The Wells' old arrangement is broken. The new one belongs to those who understand that some traditions deserve to burn. Maggie and James walk hand in hand down the dusty road. Behind them, smoke rises from what used to be the center of power. What used to be a town that ate its own children and called it survival. Are we going home? James asks. We are home. Maggie squeezes his hand. Just took us a while to understand what that meant. The smoke thickens as they walk. Not just from the buildings. From the well, too. The entity has consumed what it needed and returned to whatever place such things go when they're satisfied. The old arrangement is ashes. The new one belongs to people who remember what justice looks like. Will Mama be proud of us? Mama will understand. Maggie hears her grandmother's voice in her own words now. The wisdom of women who've learned that sometimes you have to become the monster to kill the monsters. She'll understand that some choices aren't really choices at all. They pass the spot where Cotton's patrol car used to sit. Nothing there now but tire tracks in the dirt and a badge that no one will ever wear again. Power has to live somewhere, better in the hands of people who know what it costs. I'm hungry, James says. I know. We'll eat tonight real food, at our own table. Maggie tastes the promise in her words and knows it's true. The entity took what it was owed, but it left behind something better. A town without masters, without the kind of people who point at children and call them offerings. Her father's silence lives in her chest now. The weight of understanding that some things can't be spoken, only done. Her mother's tears have taught her that love sometimes wears the face of terrible choices. Her grandmother's voice whispers that the strongest women are the ones who learn to feed the right things to the darkness. Are we bad people now? James asks. No. Maggie looks back at the smoke one last time. We're free people. There's a difference. They walk toward home. Toward whatever comes after justice. Toward the terrible, beautiful weight of choosing who deserves to survive.